What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Blue River Bow Hunting Podcast, episode 75. We're going to kick off some spring thunder this week with a buddy from Hoosier Backcountry Podcast. I really butchered that to start this thing off. But Seth Whitaker, man, what's going on, dude?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Good, man. It's been what? 4 or 5 years since we met on a job site.
Yeah, at least over at a good old Lily.
Oh yeah, I'm still there.
Oh, yeah, they got a lot of work, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, man, for somebody that don't know you, introduce yourself a little bit.
No, like you said, I'm Seth Whitaker, born and raised Indiana. Pretty much anything that has a heartbeat, I like to hunt it. Fishing, I'd like to do that. I'm not as big into fishing as hunting, but I like to fish. Deer and turkey are a must. Those are the top of my list for sure. I run a podcast with a buddy of mine. It's, like you said, Hoosier Backcountry Podcast. Started that about 2.5, 3 years ago, I think. Kind of took a hiatus from it and then got back into it and just got her cranking out episodes now. So a little bit of that. I like to travel and deer hunt a lot and turkey hunt, but mostly travel for turkey. That's about it. Oh, I'm a union welder for local 440, so that's what we met that way. So
that's cool, man. It's kind of cool. I hadn't seen you in a while, working around you. And then, like you said, your show took a hiatus. And at the time, I didn't have Facebook. So I was like, what happened? Because I just listened to it on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it popped back up. I was like, oh, this is good. I'm glad it popped back on. I'm glad you got it started again, man.
Oh, for sure. I was missing it, man. It was, life gets in the way. And that's kind of why we had to shut it down for a little bit. Kind of regroup. And to be honest, we made it like a job, which I'm the kind of guy that you want to put all your effort into it, right, to make it good. But we kind of, I don't know, it was kind of taking over my life too much. Mm-hmm. And so we had to kind of step back and regroup and started missing it. And it's time to start it again. So
yeah, I hear a lot of people say that. I had a guest on several weeks ago that used to be, an ambassador for several different companies. Oh, excuse me, and stuff like that. And they kind of told the same story. They had to take a step back and, really get back to having fun with it. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to get to a certain, because when you're in a certain space, and like you said, you work so hard towards it, you want to be the best and, have great content and that kind of stuff. And it just can be tough and become like a job.
Exactly. And that, like you said, I want to enjoy it. I do this for fun, right?
Right. We don't get paid for this.
To tell hunting stories and get info. I don't know it all, nor will I ever, but the things that I do learn out in the field, I want to tell others or, newcomers in it. And I just want it to be fun and enjoying. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. And that's why I like to stick to, the regular guy talk each week, and I don't aim to have Michael Waddell or anybody like that on here. I like having the regular dudes that like to sit here and have a drink and talk about work and tell stories. Like I was listening to your guys' show today and listening to all the details about Zach's buck and everything like that, and I was just it kind of hit home like, man, this is just like two or three guys sitting in a garage drinking beer talking about deer hunting.
Absolutely. Sometimes we drink a little too much beer when we're doing them, but that's part of it. Like we want the feel of like a deer camp, guys sitting around the fire after a night's hunt or whatever, a day's hunt, just kind of shooting the shit, you know what I mean? And telling stories, joking around, having a good time, and just blue collar boys. And really not even blue collar. I'm not trying to, define one thing or another, but just laid back guys, everyday guys,
Yeah, for sure, man. So what do you have in store for the podcast? Is it going to be like a once a week thing, or are you going to once a month? How's that going to work?
So
or just wing it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So when I told Zach, I was like, I'm fine doing it. I want to do it, but I don't want to make it a job. He's like, okay, how about 2 times a month? It's perfect. Mm-hmm. It's turned into every week, which is fine.
Right.
Which is fine because once we got rolling again, I found the joy again and the drive. And Zach's a good guy to have with me too, because he can throttle me back. You know what I mean? Because to this day, there's been times where I'm like, oh, I can do this. We can do a little bit more. Oh, we can do this. He's like, one a week, you know.
All right.
So that that's what we're kind of shooting for, just one a week. And you know, there might be a week where we can't, you know, like I said, life gets in the way, or hunting season. You know, I'm going to hunt first, so
Yeah.
there might be weeks we miss here and there, but trying to go for one a week right now.
Yeah, I'm usually like a couple ahead, so I was trying to get like maybe 3 or 4 ahead coming into turkey season. That way, I could still put out some content while I'm out there, you know, creating even more content, chasing turkeys. But like, I don't know, it can be tough to set up stuff because your guys' show is a little bit different. It's you guys going back and forth with banter, not necessarily setting a guest up each week, kind of like I have to, and that can be a real pain in the ass for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I give you major props for that too, because podcasting is easy, but it's not. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that you have to do, like, you know, you have to drive the conversation and the questions and make on track a little bit, and then doing it yourself because you have someone else to bounce stuff off of. You know, if I go mind blank for a second, Zach can pick it up. I give you major props on that. You know, having a guest all the time and keep that going, dude. That's a major feat. But like I said, you're doing a dang good job because I listen to all your podcasts too, every episode, and killing it, man.
I appreciate that, you know, and I would like we were talking before I hit the record button. Brad Strope, who I had on last episode from Missouri, we kind of hit it off. I mean, we had already kind of become friends over everything, and he's kind of wanting to start his own show. And I'm like, dude, you can come in here whenever you want. Right. Am I used to having that third person? Absolutely not. But it could change the dynamic of my show as well and giving the listeners something a little different than they normally get.
Right, exactly.
And I like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how we started. When we first started our podcast, it was 3 guys popping out for just wanting to be with family more. And then we added another guy, and 3 worked good. Like I said, it was your episodes, you had to watch your episode time because we could go for 3 hours easy, you know, with 3 guys, but it was nice. Now it's 2, which is a little change for me, but it's definitely have another guy. It's a lot easier for sure.
Well, since Seth's kicking us off with the old Spring Thunder, you know, I usually ask the question how you got started in hunting in general, but this week I'm going to ask you how you got started in turkey hunting.
How'd I got started? Okay, so it really wasn't that long ago. I mean, it is, but it's not. I was about 15 years old, so I'm 32 now. So 15 years old, my dad had a buddy who turkey hunted once in a while. And he asked us if we turkey hunted. We didn't. We were big deer hunters. And he's like, you need to try it. So we had like a turkey camp and it's Green Sullivan down, you know, it's public land down there.
Absolutely.
Here in Indiana, and went down there and worked some birds. We didn't know what the heck we were doing, but hearing those gobbles, dude, it just locked me in. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I love it. You know,
right.
And it locked me in, and I wanted to kill one. And I think it took me 2 to 3 years, I think, before I finally tagged one. But dude, when you finally get your gobbler in front of you at 15 yards, gobbling his head off, there's nothing like it. And from that day, that's what it was. So it's really my dad's buddy that kind of got all of us going, and from there we just grew.
That's awesome. You know, that's kind of similar to my story a little bit. We were big deer hunters, never turkey hunted. Of course, where I live, there's not really any turkeys anyway, so it wasn't really a huge thing for us. But we always heard buddies talk about it and stuff like that. And we actually owned some property down in Kentucky, and we were like, let's just try it. Let's just go out and try it one time, see if we like it. And I'm exactly like you. Heard them first few gobbles, and I was hook, line, and sinker. Light bulb went off like, I really like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got super lucky. My first time I actually shot a Jake, like my very first time out. So that made it even more of a hook, line, and sinker. I actually killed my first turkey before I killed my first deer. I was
really
14 when I killed my first bird.
Oh, sorry, you cut out there for a second.
No, you're fine.
No, I got lucky. The first turkey that I ever killed, I don't know if it still holds the record or not, but it did for about 5 years. But it was the heaviest bird in the Sullivan area, and it was 28.5 pounds. So my first turkey was a big one, so I kind of got
Right.
spoiled a little bit, but I did. I've killed some jakes. I'm not going to lie.
No, me too, for sure.
I've done that. And in the season, if it has a beard, man, I'm going to shoot it.
I don't blame you whatsoever, man. It's different though. Like and we'll get to it here later when we talk about taking trips. That's different. I feel like because I'm cursed when it comes to Indiana turkey hunting. I have no idea why, and it's probably these people are probably laughing because I give them Indiana deer hunting content so much. Well, we're starting off turkey content with Indiana turkey content, but I'm like super cursed. I have no idea why. I just cannot seem to get it done. Here in Indiana, I don't know. I'm not used to hunting. Growing up turkey hunting, I'm not used to hunting timber birds. Timber birds will whoop me every time. I don't know understand why. I'm more of a field bird kind of guy and be able to cut them off and do this and do that. That's why I have so much fun up in Michigan where I go because it's just so wide open up there, and you got to put yourself in the right place at the right time for the most part. But man, Indiana straight whoops me every year.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I've looked back because we had this conversation before. I think we talked about it on the phone a little bit, a couple weeks or maybe last week. But I hear a lot of people say that Easterns are the hardest bird to kill, and for me, I think the opposite. I don't, and I've hunted a lot of different breeds. So I'm trying to get my Grand Slam, right? So I've been fortunate enough to be able to hunt different birds, and really, and I don't know if it's just our property. We do have a lot. We have a good population, but I've been fortunate to be able to tag one every year. I don't think, like, besides the first 2 or 3 years when I first started, I think we've tagged one every year. So, but you do make a good point though with the timber birds, because even here in Indiana, I have a stepbrother. He hunts turkey quite a bit, and where he hunts, it's a lot of, so it's just like fence lines of trees and stuff where they're roosting, and they act totally different than a true timber bird.
Right.
It's definitely harder for sure.
Yeah, because on the field birds, even if they're in the timber, for the most part, if you can get one fired up real nice, it seems like you can at least call them to the edge. And last year, during youth weekend down in southern Indiana, we were able to take, for youth weekend, we were able to kill 2 birds in 2 days, and one ended up being on public land, but I could not get these birds to budge, and I was like, man, this is not like, I don't understand what's going on. He must have a ton of hens with him. I can't figure it out. And then I hear a gunshot, and my neighbor Adam, him and his boy got one, but he said they just strutted back and forth in the hardwoods on a ridge, just back and forth, and finally got close enough where he could shoot one.
That's the case more times than not with the wood birds. If you have ridges, man, they cling to those things, and it's, unless you get a desperate one where he's got his butt kicked, by other bigger toms in the area, he's not leaving that thing. So it's definitely a spot stock, and that's kind of what I got the fire burn, lit underneath of me too. Is deer hunting, there's a lot of sitting, and waiting, quiet, which is cool. I like, but turkey hunting, you're run. At least people do it different. I like to run and gun it.
Same.
I'm constantly moving, so that's another bright side of turkey hunting for me too. But
for sure, I'm a run and gunner for sure. That's just how I grew up doing it, and kind of going back to how we got started, I really didn't have anybody to show me do it this way or do it that way or here's some tips and tricks. I learned everything based off of my experiences that I was getting, and it was, okay, we're moving now. Let's do it quick. Let's get to, point A, point B, and knowing kind of where we could go. But I can remember, I think I've told this story on here before, calling some birds in across the lake down in Kentucky. I was on the end of a ridge, and I thought they were kind of down in it. Well, it turns out they were on the other side of a lake, and they were just strutting back and forth up on the lake. And what I had done is I just said, I'm done with these birds. I can't get them to answer me no more. Something's up. So I started walking back towards this cow pasture, and I started calling again. And when I called again, I had a couple different sets that I was doing. And like the third set, when I started calling, they gobbled on my side of the lake. And I just hit the ground, man. Like, I'm not going nowhere. And I ended up calling 4 right into my lap. My cousin was with me. I was trying to get him a bird, and he missed one at point blank, which That happens too. It's happened to
Mhm.
best of us missing
Right.
birds.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Been there, done that one. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like you said though too, they move crazy because when you start to think they're not going to move, the next second they're in your lap. It's crazy how fast these birds can move too. And I know they can fly, but they usually don't unless they get bumped. But dude, when these things finally commit, they're coming, and
Oh,
you
for
better be
sure.
ready. I've had those, oh crap, hit the ground on your belly, and you're looking around. How am I going to shoot this thing? You know?
Yeah. And then I've had moments, kind of the polar opposite, where man, he was gobbling hot. I haven't heard him in like 20 minutes. Probably not going to happen. And all of a sudden, you can hear him spitting and drumming in a tree behind you. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah,
oh
oh
boy,
yeah,
he's close. It just took him
yep.
a while to work in. He may have been by himself.
Hmm.
Which
Oh
those
yeah.
can be really fun hunts too. But usually, those are the ones where my back hurts when I'm done.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you're sitting up in a tree, you have your gun on your knees, and they're killing you, and you're always in a bad spot. You're never comfortable. It seems like
Right.
sitting there for hours.
Well, let's talk about Indiana a little bit and the places that you're hunting. Talk about the terrain on these properties that you're turkey hunting.
Like you said, for Indiana.
Yeah, for Indiana.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So how our property is kind of laid out, we have a little mixture of both. So in the middle, I'm fortunate we have like 450 acres, so
Nice.
it's a pretty big area. But there's tillable, so obviously it's more flat. But in the middle of our property, there's a bunch of like hollers and hills and ridges and stuff, and
Hmm.
super thick, really really thick. So that's kind of hard to navigate sometimes. Um, but yeah, we kind of have a little bit of both. Is some flat and some hills and hollers in that too.
What about like the county? But you don't have to give exact locations
Right.
or anything. But what counties are you hunting down there?
Putnam County, it's really like some of it's technically in Clay County. It's right on the
Hmm.
line, but Putnam County, we're in hunt a lot of Putnam. We do have some property in Clay County. I've never really tried turkey hunting on it,
Hmm.
just because our spot has always been good. But yeah, Putnam County areas where
I
we
got
like
you.
to hit.
And everything you're pretty much hunting is all private land, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Private. Yep.
You
At
ever
least in Indiana.
Right.
Indiana.
You do you hunt any, like maybe you kill one and take your buddy somewhere? You ever try to hit any public down there?
The only time I tried public in Indiana is when we first started, and that was Green Sullivan area, which I will say they have a lot of birds there.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a bunch of birds in that Green Sullivan State Park area.
Hmm.
But that was excuse me. I would say, yeah, that's the only public in Indiana that I've hunted is that Green Sullivan. And I've got some points or some pins on Onyx for sure that I could take some people. Now you're going to fight other people because
All
you know what I
right.
mean. But we could get some birds for sure. Yeah.
I've had some good hunts down there in Green Sullivan. Going to Vincennes like I did, that was kind of like one of the closest spots that me and some buddies could try it out while we were in school. And I was actually, my buddy, one of my roommates in college actually killed a bird in Green Sullivan. There was a ton of birds over there.
Oh yeah, they were. I haven't been for. It's been years now, but at least when we hunted it for 3 or 4 years straight, and I mean there was always birds. We never really got skunked at all. Always working them. The only thing you really fought was because they have horse trails there,
Hmm.
and people riding horses or other hunters. But that's the thing about turkeys too. I feel like is there's a turkey hunter etiquette. I feel like there is a pretty strong one, and usually I haven't ran into anything bad, but usually if you see another turkey hunter, everybody's on the same page. Like, hey, you were here first, no big deal. I'm going
Yeah.
over here. So it's been pretty cool. But
Yeah, I wish they could. Wish they'd pass that along to some of the other deer hunters.
oh, no kidding. Yeah, that would be nice.
um, Traditions. Do you have any traditions that maybe you and your dad and your brother and them guys do?
Yeah, so every year we have a turkey camp, and it's hard sometimes just because Indiana is only 2 weeks, but we do travel for turkey hunting in other states, so our turkey hunting gets long. But we'll either do a turkey camp in Indiana or we'll do a turkey camp in another state when we're hunting there. But we always have a turkey camp, and it's something we look forward to every year. Um, if buddies can come, we bring buddies. If not, it's just me, my brother, my dad, just kind of whoever can make it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's always a good time, man. It's camaraderie, telling past stories, giving each other a hard time. But yeah, turkey camp is definitely the thing we look forward to every year.
Absolutely. I get multiple now, and probably kind of like you do, traveling to some of these other states, and they're so vastly different and the same at the same time, and that's what makes it so much fun. I'm going down to Tennessee for the first time this year. Kind of don't really know what to expect from my buddy Dylan down there. And then right after that, I'm going to West Virginia with my buddy Troy Delaney again. And dude, that I wish everybody could experience this weekend that I do down there. But I go to West Virginia, I show up. Last year was opening day, and me and my buddy Troy went out and whiffed on some with a bow. I whiffed on one with a bow. I shot it, just didn't shoot it where I needed to. And then that night we're at his dad's place. His dad has like this studio set up, and he's playing, the guitar and singing and all this kind of just, back roads stuff. Man, it was so much fun. I can't wait to go again. And then the next day we drive like an hour south near Wheeling to our buddy Todd's place, which is like a 600-acre Angus beef farm. And we got his son, his 15-year-old son, his first ever bird on his first ever hunt. It was just like this culmination of things that came together.
Right.
It made the whole trip worth it, man.
Oh, for sure, man. And killing's great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's why we do it, right? But it's, to me anymore, it's just the time with friends and family and the camaraderie. Just the times hanging around the fire or just walking in the woods, and maybe you're not even hearing anything. You're just hiking and seeing different terrain and different things. That's what I love. You know what I mean? The killing's great. Don't get me wrong, but oh yeah, the camaraderie is definitely a good thing.
Oh, for sure. Learning to call. Back in the day, I know it was a little different. We didn't have, all the YouTube and all this kind of stuff back when we were growing up. How did you learn how to turkey call?
Honestly, it was really by myself. I started with the easy, I call them the push button box
Push button
call.
for sure. I had one or two.
Started with that and just kind of learned the basics of, okay, what's a purr do? Why do they purr? A yelp, the kiki run, all that stuff. Just learning the basics, which all you had to do is push a button. Started there, graduated to a box call, an actual box call. Did that. Those aren't my favorite, but went there, and then I actually skipped a slate. I did slate last for whatever reason, but I skipped slate and went to mouth call. And that one was a different story. That was a lot of annoying girlfriend or wife or whatever. But that was a lot of annoying everybody around me, just constantly just rasping on it, trying to figure out how to put it in your mouth and trimming them down. There's a lot that goes in. Yeah, most of it was by myself, just trial and error. There was a lot of error in there. Going hunting, maybe spooking one, maybe you're too loud, you should have been softer. A lot of trial and error for sure. And then I was fortunate to have a dad, brother, some buddies that hunted too, and bouncing stuff off, back and forth. But that's how I really got started on that.
Yeah, I can remember growing up and I would put my mouth call in when I took a shower. And you hear somebody beating on the door. Hey, shut up in there!
Right.
But that's how you got to figure it out, because
I
feel like the mouth call is probably the hardest out of everything. Just trying to purr and trying to all that kind of stuff, and learning to use your tongue basically, and pushing air from your diaphragm. A lot of people just want to push air out, which it don't really work that way with the mouth call.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely an art to it. And I'm not, I killed birds in the beginning years. I probably sounded like something dying out there. And for whatever reason, it came in and it works, but turkey, they say turkeys are the smartest, dumbest animal in the world. I believe it, but it's like sometimes I feel like you could fart and they come in, and other times you could just write them a love story and they run away. It's weird, but like you said, the mouth call it's definitely something I still learn. I'm still learning different, and there's so many brands out there too. They do different things. Some of them are a little easier than others. But yeah, it's just doing it. That's the thing. A
Yeah.
lot of practice.
I learned a lot from I believe it was I had a bunch of VHSs back in the day, but I want to say it was a Night and Hail VHS that I probably burned up. It probably wouldn't even work right now if we tried to put
Hmm.
it in a VCR. But I can remember them doing like a tutorial on just turkey calling in general. That may have been the video that I was watching. I can't even remember. I can remember it being one of those two, David Knight or. Harold Knight, I mean, and David Hale, but I can remember watching those videos on repeat, trying to figure out, man, how's he doing that, man?
Right.
you know?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of particulars too, and I was always beating myself up because once videos did start coming out, right, I did research and okay, what can I do better? And people's mouths are different, people's tongues work different,
Right.
and so you'd watch one person, and I'm like, I'm trying to do it just like you said, and it's not working, But you watch someone else, like, okay, that's a little bit easier. So it's kind of like anything in life. You try and try what or do what works best for you. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
a lot of trying it. But yeah, the videos when they came out, man, that made a world of difference.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know why it just popped in my head, but the National Wild Turkey Federation convention was this past week and
Mhm.
weekend in Nashville. Have you ever got to go down for any of that?
I haven't. My dad has over there at the big, what do they call that? Is it the Gaylord or
Yeah,
something? Or other?
Gaylord,
Yeah.
Opry Convention Center, or whatever
Yes.
it is. Yeah.
Yep. He's been there. I couldn't go for work reasons, but I haven't. It's definitely on a bucket list, but I heard it's a dang good time for sure.
I hear that as well. I saw a lot of pictures and videos from this past week over there. I was definitely jealous. I keep saying, like when everything plays out and you see it on social media, like I'm going to it next year. And then you
Mhm.
try to plan it out, and then it's like, man, it never fits a weekend for me. There's always
Right.
something going on, and now with having kids and his basketball's on Saturday morning, I mean, it kind of ties my hands a little bit. I mean. Missing one game isn't going to hurt anybody, but I try to make it to every one of them.
Right. Right. I mean, they're only little for, so I get it. I got
Right.
three. It's a lot of, it sucks. And one day I'm sure we'll get there,
Oh,
but
for sure.
definitely a bucket list item there for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Preseason scouting. I mean, are you really even doing that much scouting on the property? Because it probably plays out very similar each year, right?
It does. So the property we hunt in Putnam County, they're usually roosted in one and two areas every single year, and sometimes both, depending on the brood we have. Or, but I'll go out maybe once, like a week or two before, just because I'm getting itchy and I want to hear something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go out and just hear a gobble. I'm like, okay, same place. Which there's times I haven't done any scouting, and they've been in the same places. But yeah, it's kind of same rerun as far as roosting areas and time frames. Now the paths they take to and from, good luck. But uh,
right.
just hunting them. But yeah, as far as scouting for turkeys, I don't. At least in our property here at home, I don't do much of that.
What about places when you go out of state? Exactly how do you take that approach when planning those trips?
It's a feat, bro, for sure. So I look at some forums, but I only take so much out of those just because I know people aren't going to give their hotspots away,
Right.
or some people might mislead you on. There's some good guys out there, right? But I'll read some forums as far as okay, where's the best population of turkey? So like for instance, uh, and we'll get to this later, but like I'm going for Rios this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at okay, so like Oklahoma is more of a longer state. Well, they have Easterns, they have hybrids, they have a little bit of Merriams and Rios. So that state's kind of broke down. Okay, the Rios are more in this area. You have your hybrids, Easterns here. So I'll do like forums, read a lot of forums for that to kind of get my close the area down a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Then, which obviously there I'm public hunting. So then I'm looking for, public land. And so I'll get on my Onyx, mark all these public lands, and then I'll do research individually there. After I kind of eliminate some there, kind of get my hot spots, then I'll visually look, I'll zoom in on Onyx is a lifesaver. I'm sure everybody uses it. If they don't, they need to.
Right.
But I'll go to Onyx and actually aerial view everything as far as what do I like as a turkey hunter and what do I think turkey's going to be. Mark some places there. And then one thing that's kind of helped me the past about 3 years is most states, if you get on there, sometimes it's a lot of digging. Oklahoma I had to dig a lot, but you look at their harvest numbers and sometimes they'll break them down, which we got lucky. Nebraska's really good at it, in Oklahoma. They'll break down of harvest numbers per area. Sometimes they even go down to per public area you're hunting, per public zone. And you can kind of expect, because it'll tell you like how many tags were sold, how many people went into that area to hunt, and then how many people walked away with a bird. So I'll do that too. I'll break it down in a bunch of segments. Sorry. And it's a big process for sure, but a lot of forums, Onyx, visually eyed, and then that's really all I can do from sitting at home. And then we try to get out there like 2 to 3 days early, and then it's boots on the ground and knock out as many points as we possibly can, walking it. So
driving down a lot of gravel roads with your head out the window.
Oh, dude, there's a lot of driving. It's funny because last year we went to Nebraska and it's an 18-hour drive to where we go, like over 1,000 miles. We drove more miles just where we wanted to hunt, trying to locate birds, than we did to drive out there. It was nuts.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we didn't notice it till we got back home. We started breaking down mileage and all that. And I was like, dude, we spent more time in a car there than we did getting there. But that's part of it, man. You gotta cover ground, especially when you've never been there before. It's ground you can cover, the better. And this is something you have to kind of plan for too, because it cuts into your hunting time. So
right, yeah, I kind of do the same thing on the DNR websites. As far as looking at harvest numbers and stuff like that, I do the same thing for deer when I travel out of state and we're hitting public land. I try to, some states like Kentucky will tell you where it's killed. I mean, basically the property that it's killed, and then you can start looking, well, hell, they killed, 2,000 more deer, on this property than they did on this one. And then you can look at populations and like you said, license sold in that unit and stuff like that. Some DNRs really do it up with the statistics when you really start doing some digging.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? So I'm sure for locals, they hate it, because here's all of us outer towners coming in and taking their hunt spot, right? But it's, to me, taxes, right? We all pay taxes. It's just as much mine as it is theirs. Second, not every traveling hunter goes into depth of what we do. So it's kind of like who can do the most research. That's where it comes down to. Some guys are just like, all right, I'm going such and such place. There's public land here. We'll just see what happens.
And we're just going to get out of the truck and see what. I mean, that may play out. I'm not going to lie, it's played out for me before.
Right. Sometimes you have those moments through it, just try it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And that's how you do it, by all means. If I'm going to spend the time and the money to go somewhere, I'm going to exhaust every option I possibly can to better my chances at harvesting, or at least getting in them, So it's the digging part. And like you said, dude, it does. Sometimes it literally tells you, besides like what tree they were sitting at.
Yeah, right. Pretty much.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Since we're kind of already on the topic, I had some stuff lined out for talking about out of states. Let's just talk about it now. Planning a trip. What all goes into the way you plan your trips, where you're going to go, where you're going to stay, that kind of stuff.
Right. So I guess I can kind of go back to my first out-of-state hunt, which for whatever reason, so I want my Grand Slam. So that's the 4 subspecies, which now we have 5. You can get your Royal Slam in the United. You're going to pay for the 5th one, but
absolutely,
it's the 4 subspecies I'm after. So obviously I've killed Easterns. That one's knocked off, and so I was like, oh, I want an Osceola. They're pretty much an Eastern. They look like an Eastern. What can go wrong, right? So I was like, let's go to Florida. Plus it's warm. So we went to Florida. And that one we stayed in Airbnb, luxurious the time there. So we didn't have to take much besides our hunt and stuff there. And we kind of knew that one going in. Plus, it was kind of a spur of the moment. Now, Nebraska, on the other hand, that was different. So we planned that one. Now that I'm doing it a lot, we try to plan a year and ahead or a year in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So Nebraska, I knew we were camping it. So I mean, it's tent, something to eat with, coolers, because you got to bring your birds back. I was going to mount one too, so that's a big feat in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But just you got to have food, stuff to cook with, tent, plenty of like water, because Nebraska, there's nothing, literally nothing out there. So you got to bring everything with you. That truck was squatted. I'm pretty sure we drug the bumper the whole way there. But we definitely overpacked too our first time, just because we didn't know what to expect. But Nebraska too, you gotta think of the weather in each state you're hunting, right? So Nebraska, one day it's 75 degrees and you're in a t-shirt, and the next day you get a foot of snow. And
That's
just how it works.
crazy.
It's crazy. It is. And so, like, how do you pack for that? How do you plan for that? So we overpacked it. And I guess you kind of have to do that if you're going to go to Nebraska every year. You just got to plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, change of clothes, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, there's a big process, man. You're looking at hunting gear, clothes. What you take, you don't want to break down there. You want to make your hunt as smooth as possible. So you want to take enough to be comfortable, but you don't want to take too much where it's a hassle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It's basically kind of like the terrain, what weather you're going after, or you're gonna go up against, I guess. And how are you going to do it? Are you going to camp it, or are you going to stay in a cabin? However, obviously we did a cabin last year and it actually worked out. The only part I didn't like about that, I will say, the comfort, awesome, beautiful, loved it. The only thing I didn't like about the cabin is we were about 20-25 minutes away from where we wanted to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're getting up super early. You're hauling rear to get to your spot, hoping you beat everybody else there, which some people camp right there.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So if you're not camping there, you already lost the spot. And so that was the only kind of Achilles heel of taking like an Airbnb or a cabin or hotel, whatever, is you're not at your hunt spot. And so this year we're going back to the basics. We're going back to camping. We're going to a spot that, we have plan A, we have plan F, but we're going to go to plan A, pitch a tent. That's our spot, hunt it, exhaust it. If we have to move, we would do. But yeah, it's a lot of weather, a lot of terrain, and food. And you got to eat, I guess. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff for sure.
Has Nebraska became a staple for you?
Oh, for sure. We're definitely going back. The only reason we didn't go this year is because I want to get my Rio taken care of. Nebraska is what it is. Like, you hear everybody talk about the turkey hunting. Like, if you want turkey hunt, Nebraska is where you go, right? I'm sure you've heard it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It definitely holds up to that. I know their turkey numbers have taken a hit here recently. I think it started like about 3 to 4 years ago. They had a bunch of bad winters. And I mean, they get a lot of snow. So we think like a foot here in Indiana. We're like, oh my gosh, we're snowed in. Dude,
Right.
like they get 8 foot, 6, and that's a lot of snow. So, and turkeys, it's snow and cold weather are killers for turkey. They can't eat, they can't get around, easy for predators to get. So their number, and really Oklahoma, all the western states, they all took a hit on turkey numbers. Plus their bagging limits were, at the time, they weren't bad because they had the population, but you got the winters involved. And so like the first year I went to Nebraska, you could kill 3 turkeys a piece and you could kill them all in 3 days, or kill all 3 in one day if possible, right?
That'd be a hell of a day.
Oh, it was. So but then like the next year, Nebraska was like, our numbers aren't what they were. We need to get ahead of this before we lose it all. And so now they only sell 10,000 tags, period. And then for the whole state. So it's like a first come, first serve. You only get 2 tags a piece, and you cannot kill 2 birds in the same day. You have to kill one, and you have to wait the next day and kill the other, which I'm cool for. Like, let's get those numbers back up, but even at that, Nebraska's turkey population is unreal, bro. It's nuts there. the staple of turkey hunting. I know they say Georgia and all that stuff's good. Never been to Georgia, but dude, Nebraska is the place for sure.
I'm gonna have to try that one year. I got a buddy that goes there every year as well, and he tells me a lot of stories. And and the terrain there is just so vastly different than what we're hunting here because it's a lot of that stuff is just so wide open.
It is. That's the hardest part hunting there is the openness. Like it's weird in Nebraska because you'll look for 20 miles to your left and 20 miles to your right, and it's nothing but flat. You can see as far as you can see, right? And you literally go a half mile up the road, and I call them mountains, but they call them bluffs there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing but bluffs. And you're like, I can't even climb that thing. How are you supposed to get over there? It's
Right.
nuts, but it's open. That's the big thing. Like, there's no thickness there. Like you think thick here, you can't walk through it. They don't have that. And that's so hard to obviously, turkey eyesight is phenomenal. And then
Right.
just trying to stalk them, it's almost impossible sometimes.
I guarantee it. So, what birds are you missing on this Grand Slam? Is it just the Rio?
It's the Rio and the Osceola. So
Osceola.
yeah, Osceola. I'll go back to what I kind of said earlier. Is they say that Easterns are the hardest bird, and I say bullcrap on that because the Osceolas, dude, they rear. Merriams, the first year I went there, or Nebraska Merriams, first year I went to Nebraska, I killed two in one day. I killed two in a minute and a half.
That's awesome.
And then literally 20 minutes, my buddy went to the same spot and killed another. So that was our first year. Last year we were covered up. I ended up killing. But Florida's different. You got to think they have a ton of predators there, first off. And just I don't know, maybe not, but how the turkeys are there. So like Easterns, Merriams, Rios, they're very vocal. They'll gobble on the roost. They'll gobble on the ground. Easy to work, right? Or at least hear and get up on them. Rios are different, and I found that out. It was a rude awakening. Excuse me. I was expecting to walk in there, hear a gobble, get up to the roost as close as I can. He flies down, working. Yeah, normal stuff. No, that's not how they work there. They gobble once, if you're twice, and then they shut up. You won't hear them again. And what happens is the hens go to them. You don't call the gobbler in. The hens go to them. And plus they don't have the numbers that we other states do. And it's a different hunting. Now I know there's a couple places on my radar that I'm going to try here in a few years. That's going to be my last bird is the Osceola, just because of how hard. There's a couple places I'm going to try before I throw in the towel and go to an outfitter. Down, we were kind of more on the northern part of the state. Down when you get to about the middle area, more south, their populations get a little bit better, and they say it's a lot better hunting. But again, you don't know till you go. So
yeah, I would say the Osceola is definitely going to be last on my list as far as the Grand Slam because I ain't gonna lie to you, snakes and gators and that sort of stuff don't sound too much fun to mess with.
Exactly. That was another thing. Gators, not so much because I'm not really going in the swamp or the water. Mm-hmm. Snakes, I hate snakes in general. So that was a big thing for me. It's weird out there. It's a lot of sand. Obviously, it's Florida. It's weird hunting out there. And it's hot, very hot. I know turkeys move all day long. They really don't bed down once they hit the ground. But dude, I don't want to be out there when it's 89 degrees and the sun's it's not fun. So that's when we go back to the house and get a couple beers going.
All right. What about some calls as far as like what you like running? You can name drop on companies and types of calls and that sort of stuff. Kind of some vest talk. If you were to empty your vest, what's some of your favorites you're pulling out of there?
Honestly, it's a mutt of stuff. So there's a lot of night in there. I do have a call, and I wish I could remember the guy who made them, but he handmade this. It was a glass over slate call. It's a phenomenal call. Sounds amazing. You get it wet, it still works. But he handmade them, made it out of wood, and he even put like epoxy through it. You know what I mean? To give it that pow, that look. Mm-hmm. And I want to say he was from either West Virginia or Kentucky, one of those two. But he basically donated a bunch to us when we started our podcast up. And I would totally name drop him if I could remember. And I need to go back and look at that so I could give him the credit he deserves. But anyway, I run that a lot. That's really my go-to. As far as mouth calls, honestly, I get on Amazon and I don't get the cheapest ones. I find, because I'm at the point with mouth calls, a mouth call's a mouth call, right? So I get on Amazon and I find something that's not cheap, but nothing's the bank, something mid-grade. I'll buy them, throw them in, test them out. If I like the sound, I run with it. And I've had the same mouth. Some people might think it's gross. I wash mine and stuff, right? I take care of the hygiene part, but I've had the same mouth calls for a couple of years now, 3 years now. So, and honestly, I couldn't tell you the brand on them. So
that's kind of how I am with mouth calls too. It seems like, like this weekend we'll have the Deer and Turkey Expo here in Indianapolis, and it seemed like there for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years in a row. I would just walking through the show, man, that sounded good. Hear him running it and just grab some from here and there and just have like a smorgasbord in my vest. I carry 2 of those little like separators where there's like I can get like 4 or 5 calls in there, and I usually got 2 or 3 of those in my vest. And someday you may have a bird real worked up with one, and the other days you may just pop another one in and see how it plays out. But I don't use mouth calls as much as I used to. I used to run them. That was like my go-to. I could do everything with it. Anymore, my slate call is pretty much my go-to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Same here. I was the same way. I used mouth calls all the time. And then I kind of got burnt one season. I mean, I'm still successful at the end, but I kind of got burnt. And that was because I was being too loud. And that's one of my things I'm still kind of learning with the mouth call is when I blow hard. And it's almost, for me, it's hard to go soft with the mouth call, right? And so after that, I was like, maybe I need to, if I'm trying to locate one and I know he's way out there or the wind's blowing, okay, I'll throw my mouth call in. But if I got one close, 100 yards and closer, it's slate. That's kind of my go-to too.
Yeah, definitely controlling that volume is definitely, a huge tip for somebody using a mouth call. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I could throw names out there. I turkey hunted with somebody last year, and the bird was still on the roost. I hope they don't hear this. They're going to be pissed I told the story. But the bird was still on the roost, and he had a mouth call in, and he was going to freaking town on this bird, cutting, getting loud, and I'm in the back like eyes wide open like, am I the only one around here that thinks this is ridiculous at the moment? Like, right. You need to settle down, bud. You sound like the hen that just woke up hungover or something,
Right.
Like, you need to settle down real quick. You need to start talking sweet to him, what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And that's something I learned, too. The roost is a big deal. And I've done this, like, the past couple of years. Sometimes I go and I won't even make a call when they're on the roost.
Same.
And I like to listen, too, because I'll listen to what the other hens are doing. Because each area is different, right? There might be a dominant hen in there. Sometimes she's just fired up and she's just walk, just not. You're like, shut up. And then there's other time, dude, they maybe make a couple purrs, clucks. That's it. They're quiet, And so I do a lot of listening, and then I put that in effect too as my calling goes as well. And I've found out more times than not, the quieter you are when they're on the roost, the better and the less calling you can do. So usually I'll go out there. If he's fired up, I'll get set up in my area, wait till it kind of calms down a sec. I'll just let him know I'm there. I might just a soft yelp, maybe a purr cluck, wait till he fires off. I won't say another word. And then I'll just let him do his thing. So now once he's on the ground, it's different, but
yeah, I would say, kind of what you were saying and kind of what I was saying. It's all situational.
Yes.
If I get in there and there's a hen, she won't shut up. She's just, you can hear, very loud tree yelps and all that kind of stuff and fly down cackles. I wouldn't say I get aggressive because I'm like you sometimes. If it's real quiet and maybe he only gobbled 4 or 5 times or something like that, I may not say anything. I may not say anything till 9:30. And I
Right.
may let him play it out, and then you kind of see where maybe you're going to be there a couple days. You see where he's going mid-morning after she goes back to her nest, if she's even nesting. You don't
Right.
really know. It's all situational, man. You got to be able to find yourself in them situations and learn to roll with it and how to approach each one of those situations.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the same thing kind of we do too. And sometimes I like when the hen is just going nuts
Me too.
because I'll purposely piss her off. And there's been a lot of times I'll piss her off, and she's like, "Okay, you think you're the boss hen here? I'm gonna come." Well, guess what she brings with her? Him, right?
Yeah.
So I'll game too. It's like I'll call a hen in. That's fine because sometimes there's toms with them. So I'll play that game if she's hot. I mean, she's really got to be hot, just going nuts. Most of the time, though, probably 90% of the time, they're just normal turkey. They're just out there like, "Hey, good morning. This is where I'm at." He's gobbling. I'll throw a little bit of, "Yep, I'm here too. Good morning." Shut up. So
Yeah, that in a particular instance, I'm thinking of last year in that West Virginia trip I was telling you about when we took the kid. There was like a rain, sleet, snow kind of mix that morning, and we were sitting in the blind with the kid, and no gobbles on the roost. I did hear a few tree yelps, and I thought, man, this ain't good. I've never hunted here before. It's my first time on the property. So, and the dad kept saying, "Well, are we going to call yet?" I said, "No, we're just going to let this play out for the first couple hours."
Yep.
And about that time, wind stopped, quit raining. About half hour, 45 minutes later, I hear a hen down in the bottom of this ridge in West Virginia, and I mean ridge, like it went way down in there. And I could hear her talking, and I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna talk back to her." And you can hear it in the video. I had her at like 10, 15 yards, and she would not shut up. She was pissed at me.
Oh, yeah.
And the one time I can remember, she was probably within 50 yards, and we didn't know any. We didn't ever heard a gobble or nothing. And she started going back and forth with me, and there was two of them. They gobbled at the same time, and I looked over to them. I said, "Get your gun ready. Shit's about to go down quick." And it all happened within 10 minutes. She came up the ridge, almost right in front of our blind. The two gobblers were behind her, coming up the ridge right behind her, and we almost pulled a double. I think she got too close. I don't know if she saw somebody's gun barrel sticking out of the blind or what, but she started putting fast, and she was getting ready to run like hell. And I told the kid, I said, "If you can shoot that bird on the ridge, shoot him right now because they're about to leave." And he shot it at like 45 yards or something, which was pretty cool, seeing that.
Right. Oh, of course. Yeah, that happens a lot. I've seen it, and I've really have done it. And sometimes it's desperation too. We've been there. It's the gobblers just aren't working. They really don't even respond to you. I was like, well, just try to get a hen in. I'm not going to shoot her, but maybe I get lucky and she bring one in. And sometimes it works. Sometimes you get pinned down and it's just like 800 hens in front of you and you can't move. Other times it's here one comes, but it is situational for sure. And a lot of reading the body language too is reading that body language. Like you mentioned, is you could tell she was getting ready to bolt, and it's hard to explain because when a turkey comes in, I mean, they're looking, but you can tell they're just kind of relaxed. Here they come. But when they're on alert, man, that head comes up. Yeah, they're putting, and
shit.
Everything's sharp, and you better be figuring out what you're doing. Like, okay, am I even going to get a shot? Or if he's there, like, okay, how far is he? Can I make it? You better be figuring it out quick.
What about gun setups? What kind of gun you taking out?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of old school guy. I might upgrade eventually, but right now I'm using a Mossberg 500 12 gauge.
Nice.
Yes.
Me too. I went back to it, man. I tricked it out and put a nice choke in it and everything like that. I'm still running just the regular white dot on the end of it.
Really?
Yep, I love it. I had a Mossberg 835, and I had the True Glow sights on it, and they kind of messed up on me. I missed a bird. Actually, I missed two birds in Missouri, and I shot high both times, and I couldn't figure out why until I went and shot it at a steel board and realized I shot like 4 foot high. And I don't know what happened with the screw in it. It got messed up somehow, and I put it back in the gun case and said, "I'm done. Tricking this 500 out," and I've killed 5 birds with it since.
Oh yeah, I mean they're good guns, and I've it's never let me down. Don't get me wrong, a semi-auto would be nice. I've not needed it really. Not bragging, just luckily.
Right.
But I'm not needed the semi-auto. But the 500 does great. I put a camo gun, was all wood. I put a camo stock on it, got on eBay and found it works perfect. But I put a camo forearm and stock on it, and I run a red dot. I did go to that a couple of years ago. Absolutely love it. Just because I've noticed I kind of get target panic sometimes when I have the True Glow, like I had True Glow on mine. And it was just because, like if they're 30 yards out there, you're looking at this little bitty head and neck. Sometimes it's hard to see, especially, if they have background behind them.
Right.
And you get your True Glows up there and then they're bright and kind of big and bulky anyway. It's like, well, I think that's it. And you pull the trigger, and I hated the guess. So I went to the red dot. It's definite. Like, okay, there's my dot. There's his head. Goodbye.
I had a 10 gauge that I killed most of my birds with growing up. It was my dad's gun. It was a 10 gauge New England Arms original NWTF camo on it, and it had a red dot on it, and I loved that thing for years. And kind of like you said, when we were younger, we did stuff a lot different. It's like, all right, get that dot on it, boom.
Right.
10 gauge, that mini cannon, that thing laid me out several times.
Shoot, yeah. Oh, for sure.
It was a single shot too, so it was literally like a little mini cannon.
Oh yeah, there's the gas is coming to you. Like that's it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been there. That's another thing too. I think the right choke on it, and I think my choke is either it's a Carlson. I went to a Carlson.
I got the same exact choke in it.
Yep, I got a Carlson choke.
The shoots a longbeard XRs, right?
Yep, and the whole setup. And dude, I shot one. So I was always like a 40 yards and in, and really 40 yards. I was like, But last year I hunted, and I had one come in at 60, and he would not. I mean, he was in an open field. He wasn't nervous, wide open, and he would not come in. And I was like, well, do I do it? Do I not? And there was no wind too. That was another reason. And I was like, screw it. I mean, you're not going to know until you do it. I've shot it in the yard before at 60, and the pattern to me was like, but dude, I shot that thing. He didn't flop. I shot him at 60 yards. Awesome. He hit the ground and was done. I was like, okay, I'm good at 60.
Turkey loads have gotten expensive in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years that I can really remember. Those longbeard XRs, I think they were like $36, $37 a box.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I remember using the old Remington Nitros. I mean, we killed birds with them. I'm not a fan on that pattern, though.
No.
They pattern horrible. I'm not trying to talk crap about anybody, but I wasn't a fan. But there's so many brands out there, though. And I've shot them. And the only reason I got away is because I went to the Carlson. But the Browning, I think they were Browning Longbeards or Browning XRs or something. But dude, those shot good too. I mean, that pattern was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the ammo anymore it's out there. You just got to shoot, and each gun shoots something different.
For sure. Have you ever tried to shoot any like the TSSs out of it?
I haven't. I considered it. I have, because I know a lot of people talk about like, oh, if it's TSS, I'm not going.
Right.
I don't know. They're expensive. That's the big thing. I mean, turkey loads are just the longbeard XRs, whatever we shoot. Yeah. They're already expensive, but you get a TSS, man. Daggone. That's a big thing for me. And then I'm kind of the guy that's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
Same.
I don't know. I can shoot him at 60 yards. I don't need him at 80. That's preference on that. I've never shot him. Maybe if I shot him, I'd love him. I don't know, but I'm kind of content with what I got right now.
Right. I'm thinking about putting and you may laugh, I'm thinking about putting a 410 combination together with maybe a red dot and a nice choke and stuff. And it's not necessarily for me. hell, I'd love to kill one with it. That'd
Oh
be
yeah.
fun too. But for my boy coming up through the ranks, I wanna get him a gun that he can feel comfortable with. And if you can get a young kid with one of them 410s and the
Hmm.
TSSs and all that, and you get him to drop a bird at 30 or 40 yards with that thing, you're only going to increase his confidence going forward on stuff.
Absolutely. I'm all for that too. And when the 410 thing first got passed, at least in Indiana, I'll be honest. And I shot deer with 410, and I know it. I know it does it. Um, but when they first passed that, I was like, ugh, 410. But they can. I think that's where the TSS comes in because they do hold a tighter pattern at a longer range, and the 410s, I will say I've done a lot of research and watched a lot of videos on it. Dude, they're deadly. They are
Yeah,
deadly on a turkey. I'm
yeah.
very surprised.
They shoot a hell of a pattern at even 60, 70 yards sometimes.
Hmm. It's unbelievable what technology does now. But yeah, I mean, I don't knock anybody. My dad picked one up just because it was a good deal, and he wants to take it out. He's yet to do it, but it's all set up, ready to go. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, and that's the thing, it's a light gun.
Hmm.
There's times where I'm like, I want that 410. I'm carrying this thing around the woods all day long. I was like, dang, this thing is freaking huge.
Yeah. What about decoys? Do you run decoys, or is it kind of the same thing like when we were talking about calling? Is it a situational thing?
It's definitely situational. When I travel out of state, I do not use decoys for a couple of reasons. I usually don't have time to set them up because it's a run and gun. We're getting on a move. I don't have time. Second, I know people do it. I don't want shot.
Hmm.
And I haven't ran into a lot of people turkey hunting out of state, just for the places we went. It just kind of makes me nervous a little.
Yeah.
And but here, at least here in Indiana, it's situational for sure. I've killed a lot of turkeys without decoys, but there has been advantages with them. And with the brand that we have? Me and my dad went in on them. They look like real life. I forget they're kind of
Is it?
expensive.
Is it? It's not the
Is it the Aviant? Is
Avian
that it?
X.
Yes, that's
That's
what
what
it
I
is.
got too. Yeah.
Yep. And we have a 3/4 strut Jake
Yep.
with a hen, and you can either put her down like she's ready to breed, or you can stand her up, however. But the past 3 years, it's killed a bird. Not really with me, but some used them, that we either my brother or my dad. But we'll
Hmm.
put it where she's in the breeding position, and then the Jake, over on top, like he's getting ready to breed. Dude, every time we've used it in the situation that we needed it, that Tom comes running. I
Yep.
mean, as fast as he can come, he's running and he flogs the crap out of that Jake. And we're just
Yeah.
like,
I have the same decoys that you're talking about, and I learned a lot last year with using those decoys. In West Virginia, I had just the hen out. We were bow hunting. I had the hen semi close to the blind, 15 yards or something, and the two toms that came in, the one I ended up shooting and not killing, they just took their sweet ass time coming across the field, strutting, blah blah blah. In Michigan, when we added the 3/4 Jake to it, as soon as he saw the decoys, he sprinted over to where we were at. I mean, just a dead jog. I mean,
right.
and it really made me think like, oh, maybe I shouldn't just use just her. Maybe I should
Hmm.
add something to it, and it could be situational too. But
Right.
when we added the Jake to the equation and he saw it, man, he got fired up.
Absolutely. Now we've had it happen the opposite way, and it's only been one time, again, situational. And why, I have no idea. I don't know if this has seen the same setup, been shot at before, and he was a little shy at. I don't know. But we were working this time. It was for my dad. I was tagged out, and he was out in the middle of the field. He was hung up. We threw everything at him. We threw the whole book at him. He wouldn't come in. So we set up the decoys, and the same thing we've done before, breeding position hen, 3/4 strut Jake behind her. Here we go. And we started calling. He finally started making his way. Well, he came over, and we got him at 20. He was in thicket stuff. There was thicket still. And when he popped his head over, he saw that decoy spread and gone. Like it was instant. He was like, "Oh, nope, see ya." And it's weird because you would think, and he was a huge Tom too. He was definitely dominant. And I'm like, well, it's a Jake. Why is he scared of a Jake? I don't know what it was. Maybe he saw us. I don't know. But it definitely is situational, and you got it's kind of their attitude too. Sometimes they're ready to fight, sometimes they don't want to fight one day. It's
Right. Just
be out
timid
there.
that day.
Yep.
What about like camo? I'm the type of guy, and I know that you're that type of guy too, because we've talked about it before. Kind of matching everything and that sort of deal. But when it comes to turkeys, is there a certain camo or a certain brand that you like wearing or anything like that?
Yeah, so that too is the area I'm hunting. So at least here in Indiana, I ran Habit for a while, and it was because it was a little cheaper. But Habit is a pretty good brand, I'm not gonna lie. So I ran them for a while, and I just switched over last year to Tidewee, and I love their stuff, dude. Absolutely love it. But I run the Real Tree, which has a lot of the green in there and the hard Real Tree hardwood. I'll
Yeah.
run that just because it matches the terrain here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I go out west, you're looking at a lot of brown, dry, you know, green there
Yeah.
usually, and so I'll try to find something that matches the same terrain. And at that point, it's whatever I can get my hands on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really too specific on that, but Real
Mm-hmm.
Tree hardwoods is a good one I use.
I last year I got the new finisher set up from Blocker and went all bottom land with everything: vest, pants, shirt, sweatshirt, anything, all bottom land. And then this year they come out with the green leaf, which is basically bottom land, and then you throw some green leaves in there with it.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Oh, it is killer, buddy. You have to check it out.
For sure.
I just bought basically the whole setup minus the vest. I'm gonna run. It may just be one's dirty and I need a clean shirt or something or whatever. But I
Right.
got the new lightweight pants, tons of pockets. It's even got like a zipper on the side where you kind of air your legs out and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. They got some new gloves that are nice. I got those. I got a new face mask. The face mask that they came out with last year was really tight on my face, and then like when I would pull it down, my beard would just be going every which direction. So now they have like a loose face mask, and I got the sweatshirt, the performance tee. So I got several different setups for turkey going forward this year, and then. I don't know if you've seen them or tried them out, but last year I bought the light boots, the LITE light boots. Dude, game changer, dude. Game changer.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. The light, yes. No, I have not tried those, but I have seen them. Yes.
Oh, they're unreal, man. And they're like stupid light. Like you don't even think that it's very comfortable. And in West Virginia, when I end up shooting my bird, my my buddy Troy was laughing at me because I took off running after these birds, and those boots were kind of new and not really broke in yet.
Right.
And you can just hear me running in the video like, "Foop, foop, 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 foop." He said, "I thought you were going head first, buddy."
No, and that's the thing. So around here, and I need to get away from them just because of I run like a water boot, like a muck boot, a camouflage muck boot here, just because we don't have a lot of hills, and I can get away with it. Out west, I have a pair of Under Armour, and they're like kind of the same thing, super light, comfortable, waterproof. I'll take that out with me. I'm not sold on the grip of them. I feel like I slide. So I'm kind of in the market for that right now.
Yeah.
But definitely, yeah, light boots are nice though. You can get around.
Those are stupid light. I mean, it's almost ridiculous how light they are.
And as much as you move around with turkey too, like I've noticed the past couple of years, older I get, those water boots, man, they wear you out.
For sure.
Slopping around on your feet all day long, and you're putting miles down for turkey sometimes. And it's just that's one thing. I'd rather be tired from just after birds than my feet. I don't want my feet being the problem.
Absolutely. And I was worried about that too. And, I've gotten away from knee-high rubbers for deer. Unless it's like 5 degrees outside, I'm most likely wearing like a hiking type style boot. It's just something that I've got comfortable in the last few years. I hate the suffocation of a big rubber boot anymore. I can't hardly do it. But these boots, you have to check them out. They're really nice, man.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, buddy. No, go ahead.
Oh no, like you said, I was going to touch on what you said is the breathable. That's something I've learned too, especially in deer season, because my feet sweat real
Mine
bad,
too.
And so I'll be walking in just fine. Then I get up in the deer stand, my feet are wet, and then they freeze. And that's a water
Yeah.
beat. There's no escape. It just collects it all.
Yeah,
So that's something I'm changing to is a breathable boot for sure.
for sure. Um, I got a couple more things, and I'll let you go.
Mm-hmm.
Tips for a beginner turkey hunter, and you don't have to go through a bunch. You can just
Right.
name a couple.
Tips. Let's see. I I would not, and this is just me. You can take it how you want it, but I'm kind of the less you take in, the better kind of guy. Some guys take in 50 decoys and
Blind.
yeah, blind. And for me, if you can go as light as possible, it is cheap stuff. It doesn't matter. Just go out there and learning. Turkey hunting is all about learning, and still to this day, I'm learning because they are the dumbest, smartest thing you can ever hunt. I believe that's just my thought of it. But is if you can go in as light as possible, you want gear that you can rely on. Don't get me wrong, but if you can go in as light as possible, don't go out there and put all this pressure on call perfect every single time because I've killed birds sounding like I was over here dying. Just go out and do it, learn it. I wouldn't go to a mouth call, maybe do a slate, do a box call, push button box call. There's a lot of options there, pretty easy to use. But grab something simple that you can use. You don't have to go buy a mouth call like some of these, pro hunters say, oh, it's mouth call, you can really speak. Yeah, there's some truth to that sometimes, but you know what I mean? Killing a turkey is killing a turkey. So just if you can go out as light as possible with gear that you can use, do it. And then the rest is honestly, it'll come to you. It's trial and error and learning.
Yeah, we're not out here competition calling on stage.
No, I'm not here to win a national championship on turkey calling. I'm here to kill a bird. And like I said, sometimes you can fart and they'll come running in. And you're like, okay. Yeah.
Right. We may have touched on like the out of state stuff, but like dream turkey hunt, like dream scenario, dream state, kind of maybe a certain subspecies you want to go after. What's like if you had to like picture it in your mind, what's just like the dream hunt for you?
I kind of got two. So one of them I've already did, and that was Nebraska, just because I've always heard people say Nebraska, that's the place to go. And I that particular hunt, I can sit here and explain every detail of the hunt. I have it on video.
Nice.
And it's mind blowing. But we went out there, we kind of knew where the turkeys were. We set up, and it was probably, dude, I had to guess there was probably 40 toms in one area gobbling, and it started from one side of the wood line, and it just went, it just kept going, and it was nonstop gobbling. Playing it, you can call me a liar, I have proof, but it was nuts. And that's when you think of Nebraska, that's what I think of, is because everybody's story is kind of the same. It's like, dude, they have so many birds. I went to this wood line and it was just blah, 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 and I was like, oh man, I wanted to do that. And I finally got to experience that. So I knocked that one off. My dream hunt after that would probably be like a Texas hunt. And I know that's goes, and we're going after those in Oklahoma. But there's just something about Texas hunting I've seen on videos is so intriguing. I don't know if it's terrain or what. I think it's maybe more the terrain, but it's just different out there. They don't really have big trees. They have like the small trees, and you're like, where are the turkey roost? But they roost in them, and not really right now, but Texas was number one in turkey population for a long time. So that would probably be my second, is a Texas Rio hunt when their numbers are what. That'd be probably a close second.
For some reason, and it'll probably be like this till the day I die. But my dream hunt, and I've done it multiple times, is just chasing a big longbeard in Kentucky, because that's where I grew up doing it, and killing one of the biggest birds I've ever killed, but doing it with the bow. I want to do it with the bow down there one of these days.
For sure, that's something I want to try to do as a bow. Eventually, I like shooting them with my gun still, so I keep bringing that with, because I'm a bow hunter. Don't get me wrong, I'm a bow hunter to the core, especially with deer. But man, bow hunting a turkey, not only is it very, very hard. But dude, that's a feat, and that would be something to do, dude, for sure. Is a kill a big old tom with a bow. Be
And it
awesome.
sucks because you're probably the same as me. I don't like turkey hunting out of a blind.
No, me
I
neither.
like running and gunning, so being stationary in a field somewhere, something with a bow, I get antsy pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, that's why I turkey hunt, is because you sit, in deer season, you sit in one spot in the cold for hours on end every single day, and it's fun. It's its own fun, own kind of fun. But I like turkey hunting because you're moving. You can kind of talk a little bit, right? You can
Hmm.
while you're working them. You know what I mean? And that's what I do. It is the running gunning part.
Oh, absolutely. Well, buddy, I appreciate you coming on here again. Or not again. I'm sure you'll be on here again, but I appreciate you coming on, man. I had a lot of fun talking turkey with you and having a few drinks, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on as well. And yeah, we'll definitely link up. I want to have you on ours as well, because we're kind of doing the same thing. Closing down the deer hunting and getting in the turkey, because we're all drooling from the mouth for sure.
Oh,
So
absolutely. It's definitely on the brain. And I'm sure I'll see both of you guys this weekend at the Deer and Turkey Expo. For anybody listening,
mhm.
if you see us at the show, come say hi. And if you catch me on the first day, maybe the second day, I may have a sticker for you. I got a whole stack of stickers to give out. So everybody come find us at the show and all that stuff. But plug your socials, man. You and tell them where they can find your show at.
Yeah, so we're on pretty much everything. Facebook, Hoosier Backcountry podcast. Instagram's the same thing, at Hoosier Back Podcast. We're on anywhere you can find a podcast. We're on there. We're on the process of making a TikTok. I don't know how that's going to go yet, but um, we're doing that. And then we have a YouTube, which is, we don't have video. It's just our podcast going there. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast, and our Facebook and Instagram.
That's cool, man. Go check his show out for sure. You'll get a kick out of it. Listen to him and Zach. It's a very good show. I listen to it each week myself. But for you guys in podcast land, if you're listening, give us a rate and review. Go give them a rate and review. YouTube, thanks for sticking around for an hour and 16 minutes. Hit us with the like and subscribe if you would, please. And like I said, if you're at the Indiana Deer and Turkey and Waterfowl Expo this weekend, I will be around. I'm sure you'll see me in the exact archery booth. But you guys have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you again next week for episode 76. See ya.